Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is reasons why American breakfasts are the way they are. We had a lot of American breakfast when we were in America. We were there for 2 weeks, so that is like, I think it worked out like 13 breakfasts, obviously, because we left and then came back, overnight flights and stuff. So yeah, I don't want to say we're quite pro American breakfast, but we will kind of know, I think, the foods that they mentioned, so that's good. We don't know why they are the way they are, so this is going to be a good video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. Let me know in the comments what your favourite breakfast is. I'm intrigued. Let's go.
When you think of American breakfast food, you probably think of things like cereal and milk, toast, eggs, pancakes, French toast, orange juice, and coffee. Or a McDonald's breakfast burrito. But few realize that there are actual, factual reasons Americans eat the food they do at breakfast.
Okay.
Today, we're going to take a look at the reasons why American breakfasts are the way they are. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. After that, please leave us a comment and let us know what other corners of breakfast history you would like us to explore. Okay, wakey wakey, it's eggs and bakey. America runs on Dunkin' and Starbucks and Pete's. Also Folgers, Chock-full Nuts, Maxwell House, Gevalia. Long story short, America runs on coffee. But it wasn't always that way. Once upon a time, America's breakfast beverage of choice was actually tea. Which makes sense since the U.S. started out as British colonies and, well, you know how the British are with their tea.
Tea?
Tea was once as central to American life as it was in Britain. Both upper and middle-class colonists drank tea, both for its purported health benefits and as a social activity.
Okay.
You know, when you get together with your mates to clink saucers, that's probably what they called it, right? However, it was partly because of tea's strong association with British life that coffee wound up becoming the American breakfast drink of choice.
Okay.
In 1765, Britain passed the Stamp Act, imposing a series of taxes on goods, one of those goods being tea. The colonists were pretty unhappy with the act.
That's a bit mean,
and
isn't it?
responded with protests that included the famous Boston Tea Party. But some colonists went even further and boycotted the beverage altogether. Those brave souls turned to alternative beverages instead, like coffee. But it was really during the Civil War that coffee consumption in America increased dramatically. To improve their focus and endurance during the war, soldiers were given coffee rather than the standard rum and brandy. Because it's generally more advantageous to have your soldiers high on speed rather than drunk on well liquor.
Well, yeah, that does help.
Coffee was
I don't like coffee personally. I find it too strong. Yeah, but my mum will drink coffee. James obviously drinks tea, and then he will have like a latte or an iced coffee. He won't actually drink coffee like out the kettle, hot coffee.
Imported for the soldiers, demand for the drink expanded beyond the battlefield and into American homes. Fast forward about 150 years later, and there's a Starbucks on every corner.
Okay.
Kind of feels like that mermaid logo should be draped in an American flag. Humans have been eating bread for about 10,000 years, give or take a few hundred. However, the invention of toast, which is essentially just burnt bread, is credited to the Romans, who first toasted stale bread in order to preserve it.
I like toast.
The idea was a big hit. It's hard to say no to that irresistible crunch, and toast remained a staple fare throughout the centuries. But it didn't find its permanent place on American breakfast plates until the 19th century, when the Seventh-day Adventist Church promoted it as a healthy, quick, and affordable breakfast.
Yeah.
Back then, people made toast by holding it on a fork or in a frame by a fire or stove.
Oh, wow.
In 1893, the Eclipse toaster was introduced as the world's first electric toaster. But while it was a huge step forward, the machine toasted only one side at a time, so you still had to manually flip the bread. Which kind of makes it worthless. The whole point of a toaster is that you can watch Netflix on your phone while it does all the work for you.
I don't think they were watching Netflix back then.
Figure it out. Then, right around 1919, several technological advancements led to the invention of the
automatic... big and bulky they are. It's so bulky. I can't imagine a toaster being like that now.
Pop-up toaster. This was followed in 1928 by the invention of pre-sliced bread. It was the combination of these two inventions that made toast easily accessible nationwide. But what really cemented toast's place in American breakfast were changes in American work life. In the early 20th century, the working and middle classes found they no longer had time for the elaborate breakfast spreads of eras past. So rather than cook a full meal, homemakers started preparing breakfasts that were simple and quick. Thanks to the invention of the pop-up toaster and sliced bread, toast was a natural fit.
Yep.
Based on its name, most people probably assume that French toast is, French.
I don't think I've ever tried
braids,
French
French
toast.
fries, or the French kiss. But it's not. In actuality, French toast doesn't have a single origin. The earliest known reference to this particular breakfast staple actually comes from an ancient Roman cookbook called Apicius. That recipe, which may date all the way back to the 1st century CE, calls for the chef to remove the crust from fine white bread, slice it into rather large pieces, soak those in beaten eggs and milk, then fry the concoction in oil. Once cooked, the book recommends covering the toast with honey. The author was presumably banished from polite society for this recipe, because what devilment would possess you to soak a hunk of bread in raw eggs?
French toast tastes the same whether it's in pieces or whether it's whole. I mean, bread is bread,
Various other versions of French toast continued to crop up all throughout Europe in the Middle Ages. Like regular toast, French toast was just a way to rehabilitate stale bread. It wasn't so much a luxurious dish reserved for the rich as it was a money saver for a thrifty crowd.
Okay.
So how did this dish come to be known as French toast? Well,
I guess it's really sweet, is it? Well, I guess if it's eggs, I guess what you're putting on it makes it really sweet. I guess that's probably the better option.
Sure. But in the US, it used to be called a lot of things, including German toast and Spanish toast.
Oh, wow.
Kinda sounds like we should just call it European wet bread. Prior to the invention of cereal, Americans, for the most part, ate full, hearty breakfasts that included the same type of foods they'd eat at dinner. As time went on, however, Americans began experiencing frequent indigestion, and health experts quickly blamed breakfast as the cause.
Seriously, dude, light a candle.
Turns out you really shouldn't eat pizza anytime, even if it is on a bagel. These experts argued for lighter, more nutrient-rich breakfasts, and voila, cereal was invented. In the 1870s, a fellow named James Caleb Jackson introduced granula, which was twice-baked pebbles of flour, to the United States. But as appetizing as twice-baked pebbles of flour sounds, there was a minor problem. Eating granula on its own was pretty much impossible. The pebbles were hard as rocks. An emergency dental trip was just waiting to happen. As a solution, Jackson's mother, Lucretia Edgerton Jackson, suggested soaking the granula in milk or warm water to make it edible. A short time later, a guy named John Harvey Kellogg, whose last name you probably recognize, came up with his own version of granula. Kellogg made a minor spelling adjustment to Jackson's product name and then gifted the world with what he called granola. Kellogg's granola started to take off, along with the practice of soaking it in milk or warm water, if you're some kind of maniac.
Oh, non-water.
Today, cereal is much softer and, crucially, edible all on its own. But most people still prefer to pour milk over it.
Yeah. I don't like drinking milk, like out of glass, but I will have milk in cereal.
Today, orange juice is the classic breakfast beverage of choice for Americans when coffee and or booze isn't available. But that wasn't
I love
always
orange
the
juice.
case. The story of OJ's regular place on our breakfast tables starts in the 1920s, when biochemist Elmer McCollum kicked off America's obsession with vitamins by touting their healing properties. Corporate America then picked up the ball and ran with it, particularly Sunkist, who began marketing daily doses of its canned orange juice as containing all the vitamins and nutrients a person needs. McCollum then switched gears and introduced America to acidosis, which he claimed was a buildup of acid in the bloodstream that could cause fatigue. To prevent this condition, McCollum suggested people eat lettuce and citrus fruits, which are full of acid. The people in Sunkist's marketing department, who apparently just bought everything McCollum said, quickly latched on to the acidosis scare to promote its orange juice even more heavily than it did before. But it wasn't until after World War II that the drink's popularity at the breakfast table really picked up. During the war, the government needed a way to provide soldiers with vitamin C. So they charged all of their scientists with developing an orange juice that was superior to the canned variety commonly available at the time. It's unclear how they did this. Maybe they made the orange juice lift weights? Those scientists succeeded in their task. developing the product we now know as frozen concentrated orange juice.
Oh, wow.
The problem
I did not know
was
there was
they
frozen
did it
orange juice.
3 years after the war had ended. Luckily, corporate America was only too happy to pick up their research. And by the 1950s, mass-produced fresh frozen orange juice was a staple in American pantries.
Quench your thirst with health. Quench your thirst with wonderful fresh frozen orange juice from Florida, the state of health.
Orange juice has solidified its reputation as an affordable, healthy breakfast beverage, although its supposed health benefits are dubious at best.
Yeah. Oh my god, James loves bagels. This is James's go-to for breakfast. He loves bagels.
Bagels, in their simplest form, round rolls with a hole in the center, have been traced all the way back to ancient Egypt.
Oh wow,
But the bagel
Egypt.
as we know it, a perfect delivery system for fried eggs and cream cheese, can be traced to 14th century Poland. German immigrants who were moving into the region at the time brought with them one of mankind's greatest inventions, the pretzel. Over time, those pretzels morphed into one of mankind's other greatest inventions, the modern bagel. Then,
Right.
when Jadwiga of Poland, the first female monarch of the Kingdom of Poland, chose to eat bagels during Lent, they began to gain popularity among the nobility.
Right.
As Germans were migrating to Poland, Jewish immigrants were too. At the time, Christians banned Jewish people from making bread in many regions because of the food's connection to the rite of communion.
Yeah.
But Poland became the first to allow Jewish people to bake and sell bread, including bagels. And it was late 19th century Jewish immigrants who first brought bagels to America. Despite
wow.
the popularity of bagels today, they were not a big hit in America at first. That would change in the 1970s when bagels exploded in popularity across the broader U.S. after Lender's began marketing frozen bagels.
Now my new Lender's bakery-style bagels stay chewy and delicious for days and days.
Oh wow, okay. I'm not really a bagel person. I feel like they taste quite
While we're on the topic
stale.
of round breakfast baked goods
I
that
do like
have a hole in
donuts.
the middle, let's talk donuts. The modern donut, as we know it, is widely believed to have originated in the 18th century, when Dutch immigrants brought them to New York. Back then, they were called oliekoeks, or oily cakes, which sounds more
makes
like
sense.
a used hamburger bun than a delicious breakfast treat. The recipe evolved from there, with a 19th century ship captain claiming to have created the familiar donut shape with a hole at the center. While
Okay.
that anecdote is disputed, what is certain is that World War I saw the donut become cemented as an American staple. Volunteers in France gave donuts to American soldiers in the trenches to remind them of home.
Oh,
Then
okay.
in 1920, a guy named Adolf Levitt invented the first donut machine. The ability to mass-produce donuts instantly made them a symbol of progress. And at the 1934 World's Fair, they were seen as the food of the future.
Okay.
Back then, a donut cost a mere nickel, which made them accessible to almost everyone,
Yeah.
even those hit hardest by the Great Depression. And by the 1950s, Krispy Kreme stores were in 12 states, and donuts
Right.
were considered the quintessential American breakfast food. But while all this seems straightforward enough, the origins of donuts are actually contested. Fossilized versions have been found in Native American settlements,
Yeah.
throwing this widely accepted narrative into question, and also making us wonder why no natural history museum has donut skeletons on display. In 1901, Force cereal changed the world forever by showing up on supermarket shelves with a mascot on the box, Sonny Jim. It's hard to
Oh,
believe
that's
now,
where it
but
all
this
started.
was a pretty big anomaly for the time. People were not used to Captain Crunch or the Honey Smacks frog. Sonny Jim was so wildly successful that other cereal brands took notice and began to develop their own mascots. Beginning in the 1930s, cereal mascots like Snap, Crackle, and Pop, Tony the Tiger, Captain Crunch, and Toucan Sam were introduced and proved to be just as successful as Sonny Jim.
Right.
Arguably more so. Which one of you has actually heard of Sonny Jim? Then in the 60s, the cereal mascot's star power received a major boost from the introduction of color TVs in homes throughout the
Yep.
country. Cereal companies used their compelling characters, complete with elaborate backstories and complex plots, to market their cereal to kids. It was an extremely successful tactic, with one minor problem.
Okay.
The cereals marketed with cute cartoon mascots were, and still are, usually full
Yeah.
of sugar.
Super Sugar Crisp is coated with super sugar to make it taste so sweet.
Yeah, that's not very
Throughout
healthy,
the
is it?
1990s and early 2000s, public health organizations urged companies to scale back their aggressive targeting of youngsters. The Children's Television Act of 1990 limited the number of advertisements in kids' programming. And in
All right.
2006, several major companies pledged to use their characters to market healthier options. We
Okay.
like to think Sonny Jim would be proud.
Maybe he
Whatever
would
the hell
be.
he is.
I've never heard of him.
What do you think? Which of these
Let me know in the
breakfast
comments
foods do you
below if you've ever heard of Sonny Jim, because I've never heard of him. Let me know your favorite breakfast or your favorite cereal. My favorite cereal is Cocoa Pops. My favorite breakfast is probably poached eggs on toast with avocado. Yum. Let me know in the comments below yours, and have a fantastic day, guys. We'll see you in the next one.